December 24th, 2025, Christmas Eve. While the whole of Silicon Valley is still soaking in holiday lights and champagne, an announcement from NVIDIA's headquarters in Santa Clara lands like a silent nuclear bomb in the deep waters of the semiconductor world. NVIDIA announces a $20 billion cash deal with AI chip startup Groq, a strategic transaction. Pay attention, it is $20 billion. In front of that number, all the noise suddenly stops. Just 3 months earlier, Groq's valuation in the private markets was only around $6.9 billion. So why did Jensen Huang, this sharp operator in a leather jacket, choose this moment to pay almost 3 times that price for a startup that many outsiders think is not even fully profitable yet? Many people's first reaction is that he is crazy, that this is a bubble, that this is a panic buy. If that is all you see, you are underestimating the man who runs a $4 trillion empire. This is not a simple business acquisition. It is not even just a technical integration. This is a carefully staged power play out in the open. It is a breakout attempt against the limits of physics. It is also a nuclear button that Jensen Huang pressed early to stop Google from using TPUs to stage a comeback on the inference side. Today, we are not here to read the news. We are going to peel this chip layer by layer. From the laws of physics at the atomic level, to the greed of Wall Street, to the geopolitical games that will shape the future of AI for humanity. We want to see whether this $20 billion bought the biggest bubble in history, or whether it bought Jensen Huang's final trump card to end the era after Moore's Law. The story starts with a kind of fear. Over the past 3 years, NVIDIA has looked unstoppable. But deep in Jensen Huang's mind, there has always been a dark cloud. That cloud has a name. The memory wall. Our current computer world is built on rules set by a great mind called von Neumann. The rule is simple. Compute and storage are separate. It is like you have a genius brain. That is the core of the GPU, but this genius has severe amnesia. For every step of thinking, he has to run several kilometers to a library to look up information. That library is what we call memory. In the past, this was not a big problem, but in the era of large models, when parameter counts explode to the trillion level, this genius brain discovers that 90% of his time is spent on the road to the library. This is the famous memory wall crisis. NVIDIA's current solution is HBM, high bandwidth memory. They build the library closer and closer to the brain. They even stack it using the most advanced packaging technologies with only a few millimeters of silicon vias in between. This is already an engineering miracle. But in front of physics, it is still not enough. In the microscopic world, distance is energy. Distance is time. Electrons moving across a silicon substrate pay a price. Every read and write of data is essentially charging and discharging a capacitor. Physics tells us that energy consumption is proportional to distance. Even a few millimeters of transmission distance create latency and power draw. When you add that up over trillions of operations per second, it becomes an unbearable burden. This is NVIDIA's Achilles heel. No matter how powerful the Blackwell chips become, they are still trapped in this physical cage. Groq exists to break that cage. Groq's founder, Jonathan Ross, is a pure tech madman. He did not try to build the library closer to the brain like everyone else. He proposed a disruptive idea. What if we do not build a library at all? What if we carve the information directly into the folds of the brain, that is SRAM, static random access memory? In Groq's architecture, the storage units and compute units are fused together. Data does not need to be moved. The data is already where the computation happens. What does that mean in physical terms? It means data transfer speeds approach the physical limit of light speed at chip scale. If NVIDIA's GPU is a huge convoy of heavy armored trucks, every transport requires a long process of gathering and loading. That is what we call batch size. You have to wait until the truck is full before it leaves. The throughput is amazing, but for the passengers waiting to depart, the wait feels long. Groq's chip is like a super high-speed train in a vacuum tube. It does not need to wait. It departs as soon as something arrives. Every packet of data can reach its destination in milliseconds. In the past, this kind of technology was seen as an oddball in the mainstream market, too expensive, too little capacity. But in 2025, as AI evolves from chatbots into intelligent agents, the rules of the game change completely. Imagine the AI of the future. You tell it, plan a trip to Mars for me. It will not just reply with one sentence. It needs to think like crazy in the background. It has to check flights, compare supplies, calculate orbits, simulate risks. This may involve hundreds or thousands of steps of continuous reasoning, what we call a chain of thought. If every step of reasoning takes tens of milliseconds, the total delay makes the whole system feel as slow as a sloth. Humans will not tolerate that. At that point, speed is intelligence. Latency is life or death. NVIDIA bought Groq not just for its technology. It bought a license to think at the speed of light. This is an absolute privilege that physics gives to SRAM-based architectures. But that is only the first layer of the story. If we dig deeper, we will see a huge, suffocating business black hole behind this deal. Why a reverse acquisition? Why not just buy the company outright? Because Jensen Huang knows very well that Wall Street and Washington are staring at him with green eyes. Lina Khan, the chair of the Federal Trade Commission, is holding a magnifying glass, looking for any excuse to sue NVIDIA for monopoly behavior. If NVIDIA dares to swallow Groq directly at this moment, the antitrust hammer will come down without mercy. So NVIDIA performs a brilliant escape act. This $20 billion is not labeled as an acquisition price. On paper, it is a technology licensing fee. NVIDIA buys out all of Groq's patents and intellectual property. They even make sure to label it as non-exclusive. Those three words are written for the regulators. They say, look, Groq's technology can still be sold to others. We are not monopolizing it. But what happens in reality? Groq's most important assets, its extremely scarce genius engineers, including founder Jonathan Ross himself, all resign. Then they join NVIDIA on the spot. What about Groq, the company? It does not disappear. It keeps an empty shell. It keeps some non-core business. It even appoints an unlucky CFO as the new CEO. It becomes a zombie with its soul sucked out. It continues to wander in the market. It is the perfect shield for NVIDIA when antitrust investigations come. This $20 billion is essentially a very expensive signing fee. It is a toll for bypassing regulators. It is also hush money to keep competitors quiet. This is textbook-level business maneuvering. Cold, precise, effective, but there is one player in this story who is the most disappointed and the most furious. Google. This deal is NVIDIA driving a sharp knife straight into Google's heart. To understand that pain, we have to go back 10 years. Back then, Jonathan Ross was a young engineer at Google. He was the one who built the TPU, the Tensor Processing Unit, in Google's secret labs. That was the magic weapon Google created to escape dependence on NVIDIA. You could say Jonathan Ross was the jewel in the crown of Google's AI hardware. Later, he left to found Groq. Google was heartbroken, but at least Groq was still an independent third party. In some ways, it was even an ally of Google Cloud. Now, the situation is completely different. Jonathan Ross has taken his deepest understanding of TPU architecture. He has taken the core secrets of SRAM technology, and he has joined Google's biggest enemy, NVIDIA. It is like Oppenheimer walking over to the other side with the blueprints for the atomic bomb. Google has always been proud of its vertical integration. It has its own TPU chips, its own frameworks, its own cloud. It built what looked like an unbreakable Great Wall to keep NVIDIA out. Google often mocked NVIDIA. Your GPUs are flexible, but for inference efficiency and cost, they cannot match our TPUs. Now that defensive line has been breached, NVIDIA has filled its last missing piece. Future NVIDIA chips will be terrifying all-rounders. If you need large-scale training, there is the Blackwell GPU with unmatched throughput. If you need ultra-low latency, real-time inference, there will be LPU cores integrated with Groq technology. Google has lost its only solid grip to attack NVIDIA at the hardware layer. For Google Cloud, this is not just a technical setback. It is a strategic darkest hour. And NVIDIA's ambition does not stop there. Let us look further ahead at how this deal could reshape future chip architectures. In 2026, NVIDIA is set to launch its next-generation architecture, codenamed Vera Rubin. Originally, the outside world thought this would be a routine performance upgrade. With Groq's technology injected, the Rubin architecture is likely to evolve into a completely new kind of heterogeneous monster. We can make a bold prediction. Jensen Huang will not sell Groq chips as standalone products. That would be too low level. He will use TSMC's most advanced CoWoS packaging technology. He will package Groq's SRAM cores directly into Rubin chips like Lego bricks. The result will be a chip with a split personality. On one side, you have massive HBM memory to hold trillion parameter models, like a learned professor. On the other side, you have ultra-fast SRAM cores to handle hot data that needs millisecond-level response. Like a quick-reacting special agent, the professor is in charge of deep thinking. The agent is in charge of fast action. That is what future AI agents should look like. On top of that, Groq brings NVIDIA an invisible treasure, a philosophy of deterministic computing. If you know computer science, you know that traditional GPUs use many complex tricks to chase speed. Out-of-order execution, Branch prediction. In simple terms, GPUs are guessing. They try to guess what the next instruction will be and execute it in advance. Since it is guessing, sometimes they guess wrong. When they do, they have to roll back and redo work. That causes performance jitter. So you will notice that sometimes GPUs are very fast, sometimes they stutter for no obvious reason. For a chatbot, that is fine. For AI that controls a nuclear power plant or a self-driving car, that is deadly. Groq chose a completely different path. Its compiler is insanely strict. Before the program runs, it is already calculated exactly where every packet of data will be at every clock cycle. No prediction, no gambling, only mechanical motion as precise as a Swiss watch. This kind of determinism is something NVIDIA has dreamed of. By integrating Groq's compiler technology, NVIDIA can inject this determinism into its is less than CUDA. CUDA is greater than ecosystem. That will turn NVIDIA's chips from pure data center kings into absolute rulers of industrial AI and physical world AI. Now let us do some math from an economics perspective. Groq's technology is expensive, but in certain scenarios, it actually saves money. This is the paradox of inference economics. In the training phase, what we care about is utilization. As long as the GPU is running at full load, you are making money. In the inference phase, especially for high-frequency trading, real-time translation, and voice interaction, time is money. If a user gets impatient and closes the page because the AI response is too slow, then no matter how low your backend costs are, your business model has failed. Groq's SRAM architecture has a high cost per unit of capacity, but when it handles small batches and high concurrency requests, its energy efficiency is stunning. It does not need to drive long wires. It does not need to constantly access external memory. On the key metric of energy consumed per generated token, Groq can embarrass all traditional GPUs. By bringing this technology in-house, NVIDIA gains pricing power over high-end customers. In the future, NVIDIA can sell ultra-premium, zero-latency services to Wall Street hedge funds and social platforms with hundreds of millions of users. This is a brand new goldmine. Finally, we have to talk about geopolitics and supply chain security. In this turbulent era, you cannot avoid it. Right now, NVIDIA is actually very fragile. Its fate is tightly bound to HBM capacity from SK, Hynix, and Samsung. If either company's factories catch fire, if tensions on the Korean Peninsula spike, global HBM supply could be cut. Production of NVIDIA's Blackwell chips would stop immediately. That is an unacceptable strategic risk. Groq's technology path does not need HBM at all. It uses standard logic processes. Any advanced foundry can manufacture it. Buying Groq is NVIDIA buying itself an expensive insurance policy? Even if all the HBM in the world is cut off, NVIDIA can still roll out a high-performance inference chip. It can keep the company running. It can even dominate the market in a crisis. This is a deeply thought-out supply chain hedge. At the same time, it fits perfectly with governments' desire for sovereign AI. Saudi Arabia, France, Japan, every country wants its own AI infrastructure, but maintaining a liquid-cooled, high-end HBM GPU cluster is hard. You need massive water cooling systems. You need specialized operations teams. You need extremely stable power. SRAM-based chips have low power consumption and low heat. Many can run with simple air cooling. For countries that want to deploy AI in deserts, in polar regions, or in places with weak infrastructure, this is the perfect solution. Through this deal, NVIDIA is extending its reach to every corner of the planet, no matter how harsh the environment. Now, let us look back at this $20 billion. For many stock analysts, it is about price-to-earnings ratios and earnings per share. In the long river of history, this $20 billion is the entry fee that the old era pays to the new era. We are living through a key transition from large-scale training to real-time inference. In the past decade, we stacked compute and used a kind of brute force approach to forge large models. That was the golden era of GPUs. In the next decade, AI will leave the data center. It will enter our phones, our cars, our robots. Every moment that needs real-time decisions, that era belongs to low latency, to high energy efficiency, to determinism. Jensen Huang understands this. He understands the iron laws of physics. He understands the essence of business competition. He knows that if Groq is allowed to grow independently, even with a 1 in 10,000 chance, it could become the next NVIDIA. It could become the dragon slayer that ends GPU dominance. So he chose the simplest, most brutal, and most effective method. Buy you. Turn you into a part of my body. This is the cruel story of Silicon Valley. There are no warm fairy tales here. Only big fish eating small fish. For Google, this is a tragedy repeating itself. They nurture geniuses, but cannot keep them. They invent technologies, but lose control of them. In this chip war, Google is still powerful, but the suffocating feeling of being suppressed by NVIDIA on all fronts will stay with them for a long time. What does this deal mean for each of us as ordinary people? It means the future from science fiction movies is one step closer. AI assistants with super fast reactions. That can talk to you as smoothly as a human. That can help you handle complex tasks. We may have to pay higher subscription fees for that, because in the end, the wool comes from the sheep. But this trend is unstoppable. On Christmas Eve of 2025, the evolution engine of silicon-based intelligence was slammed hard on the accelerator. The union of NVIDIA and Groq may be the most expensive marriage in semiconductor history. It is also very likely to be the most successful, because it is not just two companies merging, it is the perfect resonance of physics and business ambition. In this race toward the singularity, Jensen Huang has once again proven that he is not just a salesman in a leather jacket. He is the strategist on this planet who understands physics, human nature, and war better than almost anyone. This has been the full deep dive on NVIDIA's swallowing of Groq. This is not just a piece of news. This is history unfolding in real time. In an age of information overload, seeing the logic behind the surface matters more than just knowing what happened. If you found this exploration thought-provoking, remember to like and share. This is Money Stories. See you in the next episode.